subscribe and click the notification bell to have yourself a very Merry Christmas. The bar is where you go to get some drinks, forget your worries for a time, or even meet new people, depending on what kind of bar you go to. But a bar isn't supposed to be scary. So why is it off in the setting of real-life horrors? Today I'll be sharing with you allegedly true scary stories from bars and pubs. If you have an experience that you'd like featured on the show, share it with us at darknessprevails.org. And don't forget to click the link in the description to catch my podcast and leave a review on iTunes. Closing up the bar. From Franky Lou. Location: Canada. I used to work at a bar in what was a bit of a backwater town. Considering we rarely had more than 2 people at the bar at any given hour, I seriously have no idea how the place stayed afloat. And yes, the bar is still around. It happened one night when I was closing the place down. My only coworker had left a couple of minutes ago. I turned off the lights, set the alarm code. That alarm system was needless out there, to be honest. Then locked the door. I began to walk toward my car in the parking lot, which was pretty small. The entire area was covered in a thick mist at the time, and I couldn't see more than about 20 yards in front of me. Luckily, that was plenty for getting to the car, but it was far from enough to see what was making that noise. You see, I heard something like footsteps coming from my right, which was rather odd because that area was all forest, and that forest was extremely thick, so much so that a small mammal would have trouble even getting in it. The footsteps were slow and steady, but extremely heavy. I could feel the vibrations from them as they walked, but what was weird was when I stopped, the footsteps stopped too. And through the wind, I could hear another sound. Heavy, slow breathing. I was feeling very unsettled by this, and so I began to walk faster to my car. I was nearly there, when all at once, something broke through the underbrush at the tree line, then came trampling towards me. It was fast, whatever it was. I screamed, and without looking back, I ran to my car, opened the door, and jumped inside. I immediately locked it before something absolutely massive and covered in fur rammed into the side of my car and shattered the driver's side window. Things seemed to stand still in that moment. I panicked, trying to think of what to do next. With the window shattered like that, whatever it was could easily reach inside to where I was. So, in a split second, I slapped the steering wheel and laid on a constant blare of car horn. It actually worked. All I saw next was a blur of fur and 4 thick legs running back into the underbrush and leaving me in panicked silence once I let off the horn. I quickly started my car, then sped away. I honestly don't know what it was. I didn't get a good look at it. Perhaps it was a very mad bear or moose, and either way, if I hadn't honked that horn, if I didn't make it back to my car fast enough, I would be very much not alive. Attacked at the pub. From Atkins. Location: New Jersey. Every time I breathe, my ribs hurt, and I remember the night it happened. The scar is still very much there, deep and red as ever, and I'm very lucky to still be alive. Let this experience show you that not all horrifying experiences have explanations or even reason behind them. I live in New Jersey, and I used to be a frequenter at my local pub. one that was situated in quite a populated town in an area that was basically a settlement of a bunch of old brick buildings. It's a really cool place for tourists, and a really fun place to get smashed and get some brick oven pizza. Anyway, it happened on a very bad night for me. I was at the bar for different reasons than usual, having been kicked out of my apartment by my now ex-girlfriend. We had been having problems for a while, and I'd caught her with another guy. So I was letting the spirits take me, specifically the spirit of Jim Beam. I stayed until closing that night. I never really got too far from sober, but I was at the point where my mind was sufficiently fuzzy, which was what I wanted. I was good to walk, so I decided it was time to get out of here and probably crash at the motel behind the bar. I had no place else to go besides there. I stepped outside, probably reeking of alcohol and cigarette smoke, and I made my way to the alley next to the bar, which was the quickest way to the motel. And that's where it happened. As soon as I entered the dark alley, I could hear someone there, someone breathing rapid, frantic breaths. It was in the darkest part, and all I could see in the light of the street lamp was bare feet. It was crazy cold at the time, something like 4 degrees out. This guy must have been trying to get some frostbite, I thought to myself. I began walking towards him, planning to just step around him, until he spoke to me from the darkness. Immediately, I was sketched out. It's not every day you hear a question like this from someone who was very obviously tripping on something hard. I could hear his teeth chattering. Not from the cold, I assure you, when he asked me this. "Why did you step on my fingers?" I quickly replied, "What are you talking about? I haven't even gotten close to you, man." "You stepped on them," he practically screeched at me, pointing a bony, disgusting finger toward me. I turned around, scanning the ground where he was pointing, wondering what in the world he was talking about. I nearly threw up. I'm surprised I didn't. There on the ground behind me, where I just walked, were what appeared to be 2 fingers with the same boniness and the same grossness to them. When I turned around to face the man in the darkness, he was now inches from my face, eye whites completely red, and his hair pulled out in some places. Before I could say a word, I felt a sharp, deep pain in my chest. Then the freak ran off, screaming, leaving a 4-inch piece of loose metal in between my ribs. I passed out after calling for help a few times. I woke up to a doctor telling me the damage. I was fine, save for some permanent scarring of the muscle tissue, which makes it sting a bit when I breathe too deeply. He hadn't hit my lungs, thank God. That guy ended up getting arrested the same night. He had apparently been on bath salts and a few other things. He had bitten his own fingers off minutes before attacking me. This was completely random bad luck, and I'm definitely glad to be alive. A Night at the Bar. From Michelle. Location unknown. About 20 years ago, a girl that I have known for a long time, that I felt I could trust, asked me to go to a bar with her one night. I was hesitant because I'm not much of a drinker, and the bar scene was never really for me. I was a new mother and a wife at the time, so I discussed it with my husband, whom felt I should go hang out with this friend, especially knowing she had recently split with her boyfriend, and was understandably upset about it. So just to appease my friend and be supportive, I decided to go with her to a bar. She came over that night to pick me up. Not everyone had a cell phone back then, including myself, so my husband was insisting that I take his cell phone in case of an emergency. My friend and I both assured him it wouldn't be necessary, and we would take care of each other. So we left. We made it to a couple of different bars with no issues. We ended up stopping at a bar about 5 minutes from my house. It was at an interstate exit, and the bar was attached to a Denny's restaurant. We were sitting at the bar. My friend knows quite a few people in this one, and I don't know anyone. So I'm sitting there thinking I probably should have stayed at home. I'm starting to feel like a third wheel. Suddenly, this guy comes up and offers to buy me a drink. I politely declined, but he kept insisting. I told him that I wasn't much of a drinker. He then asked why was I here, and I said that I was currently asking myself the same question. My friend, who finally acknowledges that I'm actually there, tells the guy that she'll take the drink. I was starting to get irritated. The guy orders the drink and walks away, and the whole time I can feel him watching me from the distance. One of the guys sitting further down the bar from me came and asked if I was going to drink that strawberry daiquiri, and I told him no and that he could have it. So closing time comes around, and I'm looking all over the bar for my friend, but she's nowhere to be seen. I was the last one let out the door before it was locked behind me. I'm frantically looking for her outside the bar, and I still can't find her. Then, out of nowhere, the guy that had purchased me the drink came up, and he wasn't happy. He was yelling at me, completely irate that I didn't drink the drink that he had bought. I told him that I had declined it, and I didn't want the drink in the first place. But as he got closer and continued to yell, I even offered to pay him back for the drink. I pulled a $5 out of my pocket and threw it towards him and said I don't owe you a thing. That's when a white van pulled up, and the irate guy walks up to the driver of the van and starts talking to him, and they both keep looking into my direction. Again, I'm standing alone outside this bar, and my friend is still nowhere to be seen. The van pulls into a parking spot, and the driver gets out, walking away with the guy that had bought me the drink. I was definitely feeling unsettled about the way they looked at me, but now they were out of sight. I figured that they were checked into the hotel adjacent from the bar. So now I'm standing there again looking at my watch and praying my friend shows up. Out of nowhere, the driver of the van starts asking me why I'm alone. He must have been standing somewhere in the shadows where I couldn't see him. I'm trying to ignore him, scared and wanting to go home at this point, not to mention I'm angry at my friend. Another guy that I don't remember seeing at all before walks over. I tried walking away from both of them, but they were faster than me, and now they were encircling me, mocking me for being alone at this time of night, and saying that no one would be coming for me. I'd never been this scared before. I had no idea what was about to happen to me. But then a trucker in a semi pulls up. He stops and lowers the window and asks if I'm okay. Obviously, I look frightened, but I wasn't able to get the words out, so I shook my head at him. The truck driver started to open the door, and the two strange guys circling me just walk away. I took this opportunity to go find a payphone inside the walkway leading from the bar to Denny's, and I called my husband, and I told him through tears what happened to me. My husband told me to thank the trucker and then to wait inside the Denny's and to not stay in the front waiting area until he got there. I do as he tells me. I sit there looking out the window, waiting for him, so nervous. I can see one of the guys that had been circling me. I feel sick to my stomach because he's staring at me. And then he starts to head inside the Denny's. He sat right in front of me. I began to cry again. He smiled and began to ask who I was looking for, and I said I was waiting for my husband. As soon as I saw another car pull into the parking lot, I said that that was him, and I immediately excused myself. Luckily, in a nick of time, when I walked outside, my husband actually did pull up. He took me away from there, back to the safety of my home. And now, due to my fear of seeing that white van again, I no longer go to that area, and I have nothing else to do with that quote-unquote friend. My 2 daily customer stalkers. From another girl. Location unknown. This was back in 2015. I think it's helped me grow as a person and taught me how to read others better. Let this be a warning to anyone that works in the hospitality business. Always be alert and aware. I've worked in bars since I was 18, and I had been around them since younger because of an alcoholic father. That sounds worse than it was. Dad may have loved his beer, but he could handle it, unless it was wine and some old bangers were playing in the background. So I knew bars, and I knew drunks. I did volunteer work for a bar for a while, from when I was 18, and met a lot of interesting individuals there. I dealt with a whole range of characters, and it helped me build a lot of experience. At about 20 years old, I moved and actually got employed at a bar, a military bar. That fact alone has a lot to do with the story. The base was big with many masses and bars. As a beginner, I worked the crap jobs. By 2 months, I had worked to the nicer but still rather busy mass for day work, and then did bar work every night, 7 days a week. I devoted myself to my work, working hard every day. For a long time, 6 of those days were double shifts. It was because of this obviously seen dedication that I got unofficially promoted to team leader at the bar. The hospitality business, don't get me started. Those who work in it know. Trust me, retail and hospitality aren't wholly different. I trained up new people for other bars, since we went through casuals like a kid goes through candies. So at that point, I was basically running that bar. As it happens, I got to know the people there. A lot of them are amazing men that I've grown to respect highly. But then there's 2 men I didn't exactly respect, and 2 dang good reasons for anyone in the hospitality industry to listen up. I had worked at this bar for about 3 months. I knew the bar, the men, their drinks, their deliveries, everyone else's work schedules, basically everything. As previously stated, this place had become my home and obsession. Everyone knew me as well. To them, I pretty much did live there. For the most part, I loved it. But as for Ted and Ross, they were the most disgusting and terrifying men I'd ever met. For the record, anyone who serves, I've nothing but respect for you. Unfortunately, there's a small percentage out there who serve, and they aren't the most noble, like their fellow brothers and sisters. The last month I worked there at the base was the worst. No matter the size or how you think you look, in the bar business, always be on full alert with any flirtatious customers. Some may act like they're joking, but some mean it. The weekday shifts weren't interesting at all, and I feel I can skip the majority of it. Neither Ted or Ross got too drunk that night, which was when things got worse. Comments were made, though, such as "you look cute with that smile," and "I like how you say my name," or "feel free to test my drink for me." I know I shouldn't have laughed it off like I did. I didn't have a boyfriend at the time, but I made a big point about having one whilst at work. Pretending to have one would scare a few guys away, while some of the older gents enjoyed hearing stories about young love. Now, one busy Friday night, a very chaotic one at that, it slipped out that I actually did not have a boyfriend, and my dumb self had said it to Ross. I hadn't really registered what I'd done, and I don't really remember how it slipped out like that. It was really busy, and Ross was being rather annoying, trying to sound important, talking himself up about the jobs he performed on the base. Now, Ross must have passed on this information to Ted, because Ted began to pay me extra attention, more than usual. I noticed it right away. Ted was giving me more and more inappropriate comments, constantly asking me out, following me around after closing, whispering behind me that he truly appreciated my beautiful baby-making hips. Ugh. On a certain night, there was an envelope with my name on it. A coworker said that it had fallen out of my pocket, meaning someone had slipped it in there when I wasn't looking. I felt a little bit nauseous at this. There was $50 inside the envelope. Strange, but okay, I do love free money. Because the staff worked so well that night, I discreetly split it 3 ways. And for the record, only 3 people work on Fridays. I knew this money came from Ted, given how stalkerish he had become. It made me so uncomfortable that I began to focus myself on more hidden work, like restocking in the cool room and getting away from the actual bar area. I even made an anonymous complaint, but without revealing my face and sitting down with hard proof, nothing came of it. One Saturday, Ted met me at the storeroom's doors as I went to open. Immediately, my anxiety for the shift set in, seeing his creepy smiling face just waiting for me. The conversation was short and luckily polite. Then I rushed into the bar, and before long hid in the back until my coworker showed up. Later on, though, this very same coworker ended up giving Ted my phone number after he asked for it that very same night. The flirting and getting hit on was relentless. There was no escape from it, no matter where I went. On Monday morning at 4:30 a.m., I wake up figuring it's my alarm, but it's not. My ringtone is going off from my cell phone. I got up and groggily answered it without looking at the call. Hello? A drunk male voice had slurred. I hung up immediately before checking the time. It was 4:30 a.m. Way too early for anyone to be calling me. I got ready for work and tried to forget about the odd call. At lunch, I mentioned it to a coworker. She had most of the people's numbers on base, for what reasons I'm not really sure. So we compared the number to what she had, but she didn't have it. Wednesday or Thursday that week, the mysterious number I'd forgotten about texted me one morning at about 3, even earlier than the previous call. In all caps it read, "You turned me down for Ross," along with some very colorful threats. I'm not a detective, but this narrowed down the suspect. In a panic and anger, I deleted the message. I didn't forget about it so easily as I forgot about the phone call, but I knew then that this was Ted. No one else was as insistent as him. But what on earth's name gave him the wild idea that I was even remotely interested in Ross? Those thoughts of him turned me completely off, and it turned out it was Ross who lied to Ted, saying that I had left my fake boyfriend, he didn't say the fake part, for Ted. When I came home one Thursday night, I had a shock waiting for me. Ted had sent me flowers to my home, and the thing is, no one I worked with, no one I knew at the base, no one knew where I lived. Furious, I called Ted right away. I called him numerous times. It took me 5 minutes to get a hold of him. He said that he was about to get on a plane, and he had to hang up. That's when I remembered. A few of the guys were being sent out for some weeks of training, so the person who left me the flowers, could it have been Ross? Could Ross have followed me home one night? But that wasn't even the final straw. The final straw was when my house was broken into, and one of these guys left me a ring and a rose. I was mentally and emotionally abused, terrorized, had my property violated and broken into, and I was done. I never saw the guys again, thanks to Ted being assigned elsewhere, and Ross being banned from going near me. That's my story. Stay safe out there, because psychos and alcohol are a bad mix. Lady in the Pub, from Loki A. Location unknown. This happened when I was about 8 years old. One sunny summer afternoon, my parents took my sister and I to a local pub as a reward for our good grades. We went there often. It was a friendly place with a bouncy castle and great staff. My parents were sitting on the terrace outside having a drink and sent my sister and me in to ask for the bill. We loved doing that because we would always get a sweet from the friendly lady behind the bar. After we asked for the bill, this woman sitting on a chair at the corner of the bar called us over to her. She told me that she had something for us. Our parents went everywhere with us and had never really warned us about stranger danger. So my sister and I just naively walked up to this woman. She was probably somewhere in her 50s, with bleached blonde hair and heavily made up eyes. Before we were even to her, she smelled strongly of smoke and a heavy old lady perfume. When we came over near her, she told us how pretty we were and started to play with our hair. As a kid, I used to have hair down to my bottom, and so did my little sister, who was 5 at the time. Because of this, we were used to this kind of attention. People always liked our long hair, which I always wore in 2 bunches, and my sister always wore in pigtails. But this woman, she seemed more interested in our hair than others, and even as a naive kid, it made me uneasy. She kept brushing her fingers through my hair and couldn't let go of my sister's plaits. After a while of playing with our hair, she pulled out a small purse with a zipper and pulled out 2 rings and a necklace. The design on both the rings and the pendant on the necklace were all the same. 2 metal shapes, a bit like leaves, surrounding a little stone. She gave us each a ring, slipping it on our fingers and tying the necklace around my neck, all along telling us that she had saved these for when she met 2 especially pretty girls. At the time, we weren't really aware of this, but when I took a closer look at the jewels later on, I discovered that they were made of real gold and platinum, and each had a small but real diamond in them. I don't know where she got them, or why she gave them to us, but I was pretty shocked when I found this out. After giving us the jewels, she asked, "Now you'll give me a kiss, won't you?" Hesitantly, my sister and I each gave her a kiss on her overly perfumey cheek. The lady behind the bar had been watching everything and told us to go back to our parents, or else they would get worried. So we went outside and told our parents what happened. They didn't seem to think much of it since people always told us we were pretty and had pretty hair. But that whole afternoon, my sister and I just spent the time making up conspiracy theories. Had she stolen that jewelry? Was it something from her ex-husband? Did the bartender send us away because she thought the lady was going to take us? To this day, I still feel a bit weird about this woman. I'm not sure if she meant us harm, but the way she kept playing with our hair, grazing our skin, obsessing about how pretty we were, it freaks me out. And the fact that the bartender did not like this woman. Perhaps there was something sinister about it. If I had to guess, she may have been giving us things that would make us stand out, and someone she was working with knew who to take. Or maybe she herself was planning on taking us to be her little dolls. Whether you work at a bar or are a regular to one, after these stories you might want to stay a little bit more sober than usual. Because, as you can see, you never know when real-life horrors are heading your way. Sometimes it's random. Sometimes it's people you know a little too close. And other times, it's something you just can't explain. And the last thing you need when things go down is a lack of judgment and reduced motor skills. Good night. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you want to hear your story in an episode of Darkness Prevails, share it with us at darknessprevails.org. If you want to support this channel, you can click the shop button below or go to teespring.com/stores/darknessprevails to get some of our merchandise. Or click the link in the description to donate to our Patreon to unlock downloadable ad-free MP3s of these episodes and get your name in the credits. As usual, here are my 5 favorite early comments from the previous full video about 10 missing 411 stories. Don Corleone says, "Yo, who's first?" The Don. That was the first I've seen that was first, and you made quite the entrance, Don. Parvis Gaming asks, "What's your favorite chocolate?" I love milk chocolate with runny caramel. Caramel? Doesn't matter. It tastes great either way. And I think at the moment I prefer Ghirardelli. Ugh, just thinking about it. Wind says, "I want more school lockdown stories. Like if you agree." Holy crap, so many upvotes. Alright, I'll start working on it. Jose Chavez says, "Great, I just woke up." Now it's time to go back to sleep, Jose, and welcome the nightmares. And Jose Dominguez says, "YouTube Rewind was trash, but this video was great. Yeah, I respect my like-dislike ratio, unlike certain, companies." Anyways, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode. More scary stories are on the way, so stay tuned. Until next time, here are the credits to my amazing patrons who continue to donate. Remember, stay safe out there and stay creepy, because this world is a strange one.